What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Dual Hemisphere Hangout. My name is Luke, one of your hosts, and joined to me, as always, is my lovely co-host, Jake. Jake, go ahead and say hi to the people.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And there's an imposter on the loose. We are joined by our good friend Nick. He's on the far side. No, other side. That side.
Hi, I'm Nick, and I just happen to know these two lovely people. So I'm here.
Bringing it in for not the dual hemisphere. No, it is still dual hemisphere. I was going to think, can we go for triple hemisphere, but that's not how it works.
No.
Unless Nick was on like the equator itself, then maybe we could come up with something.
Not.
Yeah. Furthest string from the equator. I'm technically in your hemisphere, right, Luke?
Yeah, you are. You're in the northern hemisphere.
You're well in the north.
Yeah, well in the north. I'm like lower. Like it's hot here. It's cold where y'all are.
I don't think of the UK as being a particularly northern country, but it is in the grand scheme of things, really.
There's not much northern than y'all than like what, Norway and then Greenland. Or Iceland, and then Antarctica. Not Antarctica, the North Pole.
Whatever that North one is, no one cares about it.
Yeah, I don't know my geography. Well, Nick, thank you so much for hopping on this actually early morning for me. It's kind of like me and Jake switched this time. It is the crack of dawn for me on a Sunday, and it's the evening for Jake. And what is it? 1 o'clock in the afternoon for you, Nick, or 2 o'clock in the 12 o'clock in the afternoon?
Midday. It is see, the thing is, if it had been your normal way around, it'd have been midnight for me, and I'd be a tired boy. I wouldn't be
I've got F1 to watch sort of like midnight.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I mean, Nick, obviously, thank you so much for hopping on. And we always kind of like do this. I did this with Jake when we first met. We always just kind of talk about a little bit like how we all met. And I always just think it's so funny. The story about, one day we're going to get Seb on here so Seb can tell his side of the story. But the way all four of us honestly just kind of connected over our love of Pokemon. And I just remember one time, Jake and Seb hit me up and they kept saying this name Nick the entire time. And I'm like, who is this Nick fellow? I don't think I've ever really chatted with him. I don't remember during the draft, the first big draft. Like, I don't really remember. Like, I remember you being there, but like not being as present as a lot of us, as me and I guess Mike and at the time Brandon were. So, I mean, Nick, just talk to us about how you all connected with us. And I mean, honestly, how are we friends? What happened? How did we all meet?
I mean, I would say that obviously Seb being the other piece to this puzzle, we are four sides of the same coin, if that's somehow possible. And my role in this was, I feel like the most outsider kind of position. I know you guys have already covered the story of obviously the draft league and then reaching out to content creators, blah blah blah. I was not a content creator, right? Mm-hmm. This was the thing. The point of the draft league initially was to try and get people that would actually like be broadcasting or like recording the battles. I had not done anything of the type. I was just some guy that was on a Pokemon Discord community and happened to know Mike because I bred a bunch of... I was like quite into the breeding thing. I didn't have the patience for shiny breeding, but enjoyed breeding for competitive reasons. Even though I was not a competitive player, I was just like, it was lockdown. I'd got time in my hands. I was just making some perfect Pokemon. You know how it goes.
Oh yeah.
And then Mike, who I think had already been recruited to the draft league, just like I'd already been speaking to him because I'd bred something for him. And he popped up and was like, hey, do you want to come and join this draft league? And I was like, what's that? And after a bit of an explanation and agreeing to it a few days later, I was like, yeah, sure, I'm all in. Again, lockdown. I had nothing else to do. So I was in. and I turn up to the actual draft, and while it was kind of like a live draft and you were angling for people to be like there and like talking about it as things were going on, I don't think a lot of people actually showed up to it. And so it started off as, if I remember rightly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Jake and Seb hosting it, me just being in the like chatting channel, voice chat. And there only really being like, I think you, Luke, and maybe Mike in there as well.
Yeah.
And when everything went wrong and it became an absolute dumpster fire, because you should never ever do anything live, as we all know. Seb had to step away from hosting responsibilities to just firefight in the background, and I think you and Mike, Luke, kind of took over the hosting roles alongside Jake, and I was just there chilling, being like, "So, can I help?" And obviously, not being a content creator and having just like a laptop with the shittiest headset and microphone, and obviously an even shittier camera. I was not doing that, so I was just there like giving suggestions. Why don't you do this? And keep, as Seb puts it, keeping him company.
Yeah.
And as a result of me just sticking with you the whole way through, I somehow got like massively promoted to being part of the council behind the scenes running things, and it was like, cool, I'll take a leadership position of something I know absolutely nothing about. Why not?
You were good at organising things, and I was not. I started off as the graphics guy. I wasn't even going to play until we realised, like, oh no, we need another player. I was like, okay, I guess.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Oh, I guess. Then you won the thing, though, Jake. So
I did.
Is it 4 or 3?
3.
Should have been
3-time
4, champ.
But Seb put a fucking Debbie Downer on it, didn't he? Had to go crit me in the second game and stop me from winning. I mean, it was a Scorpions high crit move from a Lycanroc, so it was 50-50. But I mean, if that 50-50 hadn't have hit, I'd have won.
Yeah, big time.
RNG is the game we play. Suck it up, move on. You've got 3 out of 5 championships. You cannot complain at losing.
No,
definitely.
You don't get to complain. But yeah, I like Nick. It's so funny the way you talked about it. It just sounds like so many random things happen in order for you, honestly, just to be here, for me to be here, for Jake to be here. In general, it's just, I always talk about Jake, but I always get a little sentimental. I just love how fucking awesome the internet is, because like without it, like in general, like I told Jake, and without Pokemon in general, I would not know who you two were. And in all seriousness, in the nicest way possible, I would never have crossed paths with you guys. I never would have went down to Florida and met Jake. I wouldn't be rocking up at 3, 4, or 5 in the morning randomly just to talk to you guys, and it's really just so cool to me to think about, like, just how something as Seb's idea of doing a draft league and his recruiting of it really just created 4 really, really good friendships in the process of everything. And it's just honestly, it's just a really, really beautiful thing.
Well,
and
I think it all forced us into one room, to be honest. I will never again. I think the CCC has ridden its course.
Yes.
Draft League has ridden its course for definitely being at the top of it, at least. Like, trying to organize 12 people, and then we somehow had the Bright Spark thing of doubling it.
Oh my god.
It's hard. It's hard. People have schedules, and those schedules will never, ever, ever line up.
No.
We now do like the fast draft stuff, which is 6 people, and that is difficult. So doing it with 12, or did we do 16 one season?
We
12,
did
16, and 24.
Yeah, we did 24 on the draft circuit one. And I remember that one I think the thing is, one thing that we all realized probably around like the last Scarlet and Violet season was COVID's over. Like, people are going back to work.
I think that's what I didn't realize. You've hit the nail on the head there, Luke.
Yeah,
the first 3 seasons were COVID, and
people were still in
they were
lockdown.
so
People were able to
fun.
work from home.
They were
Oh yeah, you
so
were able
fun.
to. Everyone played their games like on Saturdays, except for the weekend, except for like the odd one or two people that would have to play throughout the week. And yeah, I think it really what it was like, yeah, it was just the fact everyone was coming back to the real world. And I mean, even I know for me, like I was like, I can only do my matches on this day at this time, Monday through Friday. Saturdays, you need to let me know ahead of time so I know if I'm going to work or not. And then Sundays is my only free day, and you can literally tell me to wake up whenever you want, and I will be up on a Sunday. And like that's like just how it had to be. And so I can only imagine other people who might have not a steady like 9 to 5 job, and they have different shifts. Like Nick, like literally Nick was like, Nick told me, he's like, yeah, I'm free today, and this was yesterday, and then I'm not free again for about 6 weeks. And so he's like, yeah, we don't do it today, we're not going to be able to do a podcast. So I immediately was just like, all right, hold on. And,
and going away next weekend, and then it's Christmas, and things.
And then just imagine that with 24 people. You know what I mean? Like that was just me, Nick, carnage. And Jake trying to organize to sit down for an hour, trying to imagine organizing 12 given matches on a week. It's just it was never meant to happen.
No, and I think that it wasn't even just finding time to sit down with somebody to play the game, which like. If you really tried, you could. Part of the problem as well was that the prep, 100% is the prep. Because we started getting good, right? We now understood the game. If you look back at our first games, I don't think any of us, even the ones of us that like played Pokemon previously or played competitive Pokemon previously, were nowhere near the level that we are now, which I'm not saying we're amazing. I'm not saying we're about to, go and win a regional as Jake and I well know that's not something you can just do off the cuff.
We'll get to that.
We get it now. And so like you want to do it right. And to do it right, to like actually go through all the stats you need to go through and all the possible combinations and stuff like that, not just what you can run, but obviously what your opponent can run, takes a lot of time. And if you don't put the time in and they do, you may as well not even have the match because it's a foregone conclusion. Yeah. And so finding that amount of time to pour your energy into that and then have some time to line up with somebody to actually play the match, it's just... It doesn't work in the real world as it did during COVID. COVID was a magical time that we all loved living through, but will never, ever, 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 ever happen again in our lifetime.
I hope the fuck it doesn't. But
I'll probably be safe down here because the WA Aussies, they just shut the shit down and they were living their life as normal.
Yeah, you were safe, Jake. Nick, you're safe. I'm not safe. You'll be screwed. I unfortunately should be screwed, but I live in Florida, so I probably won't be screwed because they do whatever the fuck they want down here in Florida.
Just pretend it doesn't exist.
Like you guys have bigger issues with the weather than any kind of virus coming through and whatnot. Like, you guys
really, nature's out to kill you. Never mind. No matter what. Never mind the virus. But yeah, I will go back to say though that the draft league did provide us with provide me with some sort of schedule when all of it went to pot.
Yeah.
And I did, like you said, with those prep sessions, that I had my prep sessions every Wednesday or Thursday with Jack and who else wanted prep. Because it started off with just me and Jack, and then people would drop in and go, "Can you help me?"
Jake and I do feel like
it's cleared my mind a bit. Like the amount of time I would think about that 24/7. I'd be on the way to work in Showdown. I'd be in the clean room at work processing scientific samples. I'd be like thinking, oh, if I lead like Girafarig or Farigiraf, like if he counters it with this, what's my best? And I'd be thinking it through in my head as I'm working. But like you said, Nick,
middle of a Tuesday, you just get a strategy get sent through by Jake. He's like constantly on it.
Yeah,
and then like you said, Nick, the reason why I won the thing 3 times is probably because I out prepped everyone because the match was already played in my head. Yeah. Like every occasion or event that would have happened, it's like, okay, right, I just click this move next. Which my battles didn't last too long. They ever went horrendous. like they did in my first game. As I always remember Dynamaxing my Tyranitar and thinking, oh, this is safe. And then just watching it get one-bombed by an Excadrill.
Oh, my... Yeah, I will say the one. That's the thing. Like Nick hit it on the head with the prep. That was another time killer for everyone. That season, I think I prepped my first week. I think I prepped the second I got qualified into the not even the playoffs, but the little round robin thing, and then prepped again for the final playoff push. And since then, I think I just swapped items, and unless I legitimately needed to like change an entire Pokemon EV spread, like I just rocked the same one in it. Unfortunately for me, it worked in my favor because my season 4 team was fucking ridiculously good anyways. That I didn't really have to do too much in the way of prep. But I just remember just like, if I had like, I'm just not going to be able to prep. And I hate that because I was so bad. Like the one thing about me is prep for me is great, but I'm also a fly at the seam of my kind of pants kind of guy in general when it comes to playing Pokemon.
I think you guys we're all the same though, right? Like we live for the draft. Everyone lives for the draft. Like,
the draft's the best part of the season,
and then honestly. No one else cares about the season. As soon as I remember the feeling of as soon as the draft is finished and looking at my team and going, I don't like this, and I'm going to have to play with it for 13 weeks. It's
the thing is, you have to have the season, right, to justify having the draft. That's all people want to do. They want to do the draft. But if you had the draft and then didn't have the season, the draft becomes pointless. So it's in a weird way, like where normally you prep for something, and then get the payoff. With this, you have the payoff right at the beginning. But then if you don't follow through with the following work, well, it made that thing at the beginning all pointless. It's a really bizarre phenomenon.
Oh, yeah. No, you literally draft, like, introduction of season, whatever, draft, you're already at the peak, and then immediately go like it just like it literally is. It's just the impulsivity of everything. It's just like everyone's super excited for it, and then the second you get your team, like, all right, I'm stuck with it for 13 weeks. Time to prep. Time to play.
Every time, barring season 2, which really annoyed me because I really wanted to win that one because that team I had, I loved it from the beginning. And then I've only ever had that feeling once. And, it's a long time. And I used to trade a lot. I was the one who would trade out his whole team. And then consistently get the trades limited, and I still found a way.
Yeah, you did.
You had to limit them.
I was a hardcore battering ram in the DMs when it's like when I wanted a Pokemon gone, it was like you're gone. I will find you a new home.
I would say you were the worst with trade. You definitely did the most trading. However, I think the Seb was the one, and I'm sure it was Seb that had, I feel, the most outrageous trade, and I don't even remember what one of the Pokemon involved in the trade was, and that was when he twisted the arm of somebody into trading him. He traded his Espeon, and I can't remember what he got back, but it was an absolutely
it was garbage. Trade. It was so bad. I think it was
either if you remember what he got.
It was some like it was definitely. I think Espeon was a B tier at the time, and I think he traded it for some.
Was it which season was it?
Season I don't even 2 know. Or 3.
2 or 3?
He had one match with it when this Espeon was shit. And
he's like, he did it. I think he did it to freaking I remember who it was. He did it to mother flipping
it was Kraken, right?
Kraken, yeah, he did it to Kraken. We're like, Kraken, your team's already not the best. What are you doing, man?
Yeah,
you traded your best Pokemon away.
Was it Klefki?
Sorry,
was it Klefki? I feel like it was Klefki.
Yeah, he got Klefki.
It might have been, yeah.
Yeah, he got the Klefki for it.
Which in Draft League, Klefki is
amazing.
It's amazing because it does so much for the tier that it's at. Right?
Yep.
Like,
he had
never
an Espeon week 1
in the top tiers.
I'm pretty sure it was for a Klefki. And for people that like don't understand like draft league, like Nick said, the prankster mons. Given that there's like what, maybe at that time there was 3, 4.
No, there was like 5.
Yeah, I'd say 4 or 5 usable ones. Because there's some which are in the games, but like realistically, they're not what you ever want to be using.
Yeah, you're not using Impotent. You're using, you're either using the Grimstar or the middle evolution. You're not using Impotent.
Yeah,
so Impotent was drafted one year. It was drafted. Someone really wanted Prankster that bad, and they drafted an Impotent. Never saw the light of day.
I drafted Morgan twice.
Yeah, so, Morgan
was Eviolite babies come in.
Yeah, Morgan was fucking amazing. It was great. It's basically mini Grimsnarl. But yeah, I think that's enough draft league talk. I think we always talk about draft league a little bit when we get someone about draft league, because it literally was our life for like well over close to 2.5 years. I mean,
still do fast draft instead.
We still
we do it one night only. 3 times a year maximum.
But it was the origin of the friendship. It had to be talked about. You have to talk about it when I come on, and when Seb comes on, you'll have to talk about it with him.
Oh yeah, we are. I mean, the draft league. I mean, I always joke around with it, Nick. I mean, even Nick, because I kind of messaged you about it. What I was thinking about doing for Christmas. The draft, good lord, I almost said the dual hemisphere hangout. That's the name of it. The Critical Continental Cup was honestly one of my favorite. Honestly, one of the things I'm still very, very much proud of. The fact that 4 collective people came together, ran a draft league successfully for 5 seasons in different formats every season. Brainchild of Seb and Jay came in with the graphics. I mean, it to this day, for the fact that it was just a bunch of no-name content creators and for fans and stuff like that, that probably ran one of the best well-run draft leagues that there ever have been. And there's a reason why there's not as many draft leagues out there as they were. And there's a reason why the biggest named ones were ones that were run by content creators that had the schedule to do that for 11 weeks, because they didn't. Well, I don't want to say they didn't have like other jobs, because you never know someone's like financial history, but their channel was, they were locked in. They were like, I don't care if I got to rock about 4 a.m. I'm doing this for content.
No, 100%. But like it has given me some amazing like memories and moments and stuff like that. Like I will never forget going around. I mean, I've been around to Jake's twice for the draft now. Once we then stopped up till 4 a.m. afterwards and had the absolute best run at VGC ever with himself, myself, and Jack, while we were hammered, I should say.
It was a tradition.
We tried to make it a tradition afterwards for sure. But then with yourself, Luke, like I have never played a more perfect game of Pokemon than my match with you in season 3, which I was always going to have to bring up. Right?
It's given us internal rivalry as well, because you'll never forget. Like me and Seb, I have never beaten Seb in an official draft league match ever.
But like you saw Luke's face drop the moment I mentioned that match, and I never clicked a wrong move. You did like
you did so like that match. Yes, my face dropped immediately, because I think that was basically whoever won that one was going to be the winner of our respective division, the loser sides of things, because we did so bad in season 2. We got demoted to the lower league with these like 8+ ranked teams. Like our teams were fucking amazing, by the way.
Both of us.
They're so good. We said our teams were trash. We were about to draft the best fucking team in the world. But yeah, that was a big one, because that was like because I hadn't lost a game yet, you hadn't lost a game yet, and it was like, all right, whoever win here obviously is going to win the division. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, yes, I still to this day hate that blue mouse. But it was the blue mouse is Zoomeril. But like I said, like Jake said and Nick hit on the head, it is just like the funness of it all. The memories are gonna last a lifetime, and Draft League was amazing. And I think it's really just kind of poetic that we talk about Pokemon a lot on this podcast, Nick. And one thing that we always talk about is the fact that we, in general, just love video games. I think that's just been such an integral part our lives in general. Like, playing Pokemon for such an early age to now, literally the other day, I'm like, you know what? I'm bored. What's on sale on the PlayStation Network? Oh, Mortal Kombat 1's $20. I haven't played a Mortal Kombat game in a really long time. Let me download that. And I mean, I think at the end of the day, we are all just gamers at heart.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, that was something that I did want to touch on you guys with to move away from that Pokemon thing. Your relationship with gaming as you've got older. So you gave, for example, there, Luke, right? So just for context, I'm the old boy in this friendship, right? Which is why this is a point that I notice probably more than the rest of them. But you said the other day, you're just like, let's see what's in the PlayStation sale or what have you. Mortal Kombat, 20 quid, great. That is not something you could have done when you were a kid. You couldn't just be like, I haven't played this in a while, 20 quid, nothing, fine. So, like, you've got that kind of freedom with it. But at the same time, obviously, the older you get, you don't have the same time that you could put into games and stuff like that. And it's like, have you noticed as you've got older that you game differently or you view gaming differently?
Yeah.
This goes to either of you, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, to kind of like just to take it from the top, me and video games honestly have gone through so many different levels in my life. Like, obviously, as a kid, I could play video games pretty much the entire time. I talked about how my mom was honestly a very, very good, like, great supporter in my loving of gaming. She was very much like, yeah, you can buy whatever you want. You have your own money. You can play your games whenever you want. Just don't play up to like 1 o'clock in the morning when you got school the next day. I think she liked the idea that it kept me out of trouble, and which is, I think, one of the coolest things. And my mom would play games with me all the time. But as I got older, and I would just honestly say from about 18 to about, I would say about 25, 26, before I actually like really hopped in and became, took over like the main leadership role of my child care center job. I missed the Xbox 360 days playing video games because I didn't have internet at the time. So I relived that in my early to mid 20s. But to kind of circle back, once I really like start taking a leadership position and an upper management position at my position, I had to dial back the gaming a little bit, really just reserve it to weekends. I would do the good old trend. I hate the fact that people do this now because I am a boss, but taking off of work to play a new video game when it comes out. I did that for a lot of the Pokemon games. I hate that now as a boss. Like, I bet the new game came out and that's why you're taking off, you little whippersnapper. But I would do that. But now, where I'm at now in the past couple of years, I really do value my time with video games. So when it comes to a game, like, I'm really big on single player games. I love playing my single player like adventure games. I'm not paying $70 for a game unless it is well over like 50 hours. I'm just not doing it because I like longer games that I'm like, all right, I'm going to play this for like 2 months, and I'm going to be good to go. Or I will play a game that is mindless in the sense I can hop on for an hour a night and play it. So like Mortal Kombat, the Dragon Ball Z game that I just got, Sparking Zero, American College Football 24. Games where I can play for like short periods and enjoy it that way. Or if I'm like really paying big bucks for a game, it has to be a game that I can play for like 2-3 months. Like, I got Final Fantasy Rebirth, which I love. Final Fantasy is one of my favorite series of all times. That game's about 70-ish hours. Like, if you try to do everything, I'm about halfway through. I've had it for about 2 months. And when I have an extra amount of time on the weekend, I will like sit down and play that for 3 or 4 hours and I have fun with it. Pokemon, starting to do some content as well. Setting aside, little bits of time to play Pokemon for content is always nice. So it's just all about, and I just have to schedule my gaming sessions now. I guess that's the biggest difference now. I have to schedule my time with my games. I can't just be like, all right, I'm going to play my video games for 6 hours. Oh, wait, I have work. And I have to wake up so I don't be a grouchy asshole at work. Okay. All right. Let me sit down and schedule this a little bit better.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you say you still want the games with the high playtime that you get out of it and stuff like that. Because I think for me, I've almost gone the opposite direction as I've gotten older. Like, if a game is going to take me that long, I'm like, realistically, am I actually going to get around to finishing this thing? And there's far more games than I'd like to admit that I kind of started and just been like, it's been either trudging away at it for so long, or like you need to really sit down for like good long sessions at a time with it, and it fizzles out or something like that. And almost always it fizzles out towards the end as well, like, which is so frustrating from my perspective. But
yeah,
I mean, Jake, what about you? Have you found that you game differently now compared to when you were younger?
Definitely, yeah. I think as everyone, well, as me and Luke in my generation, as we should say, we are I was multiplayer gamers from the beginning. Like, it was all COD, Call of Duty, and FIFA. That's all I played. And that was with the friends after school every single day without fail. Like, you come home, you eat, and then you're on. I remember, like, it was a running joke in my friend group. Like, at 3:30 when school finished, it was like, "You on?" It's like, "Yep." And then in 2 hours, they're on. And you're in the Xbox Live Party chat, and you're all fucking screaming as we played private lobbies on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, or we're playing pro clubs on FIFA and just screaming at one another.
Oh my god, I fucking hate clubs.
Pro clubs is not the one. Then I think in around the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel was born in 2012. And that's when I took like another side of gaming that has never left me. Mainly because I think it's become more of a hobby now. I know I'm probably not going to make it. There's still time. There's still time for me to blow up with the next big YouTuber ever. But I highly doubt it, given how much, when I started YouTube, it was like 500 subs was your concurrent now of like 100,000.
Yeah.
It was a different ballpark. You got 1,000 views on a video, you were famous. You were like, "Oh my god, who is this guy?"
Yeah, you've gone viral.
Yeah, literally. Now it's like, if you don't get 1 million views, it's like, who are you? You didn't even hit my YouTube feed. It's like, what is going on? I am like Nick in a way where the longer the game, the more I'll be put off by it. The draw will be there. Like, I have had Elden Ring in my library for I want to say about 3 years now. I haven't watched a single playthrough of it. I don't know a single boss, because I know that I'm going to get the itch one day and I'm going to be like, right, we're sitting down and we're playing this, and I don't care how long it's going to take me. But I've always got that content creator head on. Like, I have to stream it, or I have to make content out of it.
You have to have it recording at all times.
Which is it's a virus. It's a virus, because it takes the fun out of some games, because you'll never play it because you don't want to not play it without hitting record. I'm getting better now. I've put some games on my Steam Deck, and I will sit and play on the Steam Deck sometimes. But yeah, it's mostly like I will play only for content now. Like you said, Luke, very regimented schedules. We have the Saturday morning for me for the podcast. Monday morning, Monday evening after work is my scheduled recording time, so that I will sit down, play however many hours of Pokemon or whatever, try and get my recording done. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is editing. And then Friday, I usually have off. Now Nick has had his schedule flipped over the sun. We usually played like offline games. That's what I said. I said to myself, I want to play games to have fun. So that was my scheduled time where me and Nick were playing Minecraft. We had we did Monster Hunter for a little bit. I did stream a little bit, but then took it off stream. But I've got the content creator virus where I won't play unless there's something at the end of it. But yeah, it's usually just Pokemon now. I will venture out between the ROMs and then the odd single player game. I will not play multiplayer anymore. I can't hang with these kids. These kids, fuck it. If I go back on COD now and I try doing what I was doing 10 years ago, like,
you're dead.
It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun.
See, it's really, really weird for me, because I think I have almost had the opposite kind of growing up with games than, say, you at least, Jake. Because so when I was a kid, online multiplayer gaming did not exist. Right? By the time it really came a thing and was like, you'd got your Call of Duties and whatnot, and were being like mainstream, lots of people doing it, lots of people online, I was kind of like upper end of teenage, if not already hitting my 20s.
Yeah.
And so the majority of friends that I'd got that would be prepared to play these games with me, again, it had started getting into that scheduling thing, either the, girlfriends or jobs or whatever it might have been. It's like, I'm not saying I never did it, but it was few and far between. And so like my gaming started off with your single player stuff because that's what there was, like Super Mario World is like the first one that I remember playing and what have you. And then as time has gone on, the world of gaming is evolved into the point where we can do this miraculous 3 continents online gaming if we want to do. The 3 of us can all play together, which is amazing. And now I'm meeting you guys. It's wonderful, but it's very weird to now trying to be doing it at my age. And I'm going to give you a brief story here. So for context, I'm 36 right now. So you go back to COVID, I'd still have been in my early 30s, but not old, but like certainly you notice you're not a kid anymore by that age. And it was before I'd started doing the draft league with you guys. I was in the Pokemon Discord channel that I'd mentioned, and I was just chatting to somebody about breeding or whatever we were talking about. And it was the vaccine was going around, which I know is a hot topic, and I'm not wading in one way or the other on or whatnot, but it was generally something that in this country you were just getting, right? And because of underlying health issues, I was offered it before people of my age group. Anyway, so this person that I'd met online that I was chatting to in this thing, I mentioned, oh yeah, I've already had the vaccine. And they kind of like, understandably, because it was being rolled out from the oldest down to the youngest. And I think at the time, like the age group that was getting it was like, they just started on the over 50s. Like the over 60s had just finished and they just moved to over 50s. So I happened to mention it, and this person that I was chatting to, she kind of said like, hey, so if you've already got it, do you mind me asking how old you are? Because we hadn't done video chatting, we'd only done typing. So there was no context there for that. And I was like, oh yeah, I jokingly said, oh, I happen to be 54. Yeah, so that's why I'm getting out. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And you could, the words were completely fine, but you can just tell someone's reaction from like, is like, they're shocked at that or whatnot. And then I was like, no, I'm 30 or whatever. And it's not that big. And like, oh yeah, I thought that was weird. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But I love gaming and I hope to still be gaming in my 50s. Am I going to be trying to make friends with almost teenagers when I'm in my 50s in a completely non-weird way? I need to stress. Right? You need to say nowadays.
That's just you'll be the minority at this point. And to be honest, I still think 30s are fine. Like 30s, 40s, 50s. I still see streamers in their 50s. There's a guy called Squirrel. He might not be 50, bless him. He looks 50. He's got grey hair. Mind you, I'm going. No. He plays like Flight Sim and stuff, and I prefer watching him over some screaming content creator, because it's more mature content in a way. Like he's not going to be like shouting and screaming. It's adult, not. It's hard to word this, Nick, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really hard to word it.
It's old people jokes.
Right now, nothing
dad
we
jokes.
mean is ever sexual.
Dad jokes. That's what it is. Like, they tickle me. They like proper get me laughing. None of this like, oh, fucking whatever's happening on screen. He tells me a dad joke and I'm crying with laughter.
Yes. Oh yeah. No, it's crazy. Yeah, it's the thing. Like you said, Nick. Yeah, I mean, as we get older, people are eventually like the majority. I would say like the 100%. You take 100% of people that were playing video games with when we were kids. I would say we're probably gonna, by the time we're reaching that upper 40s, 50s levels. We're going to be in that like minority, like 15% out of those 100 people that were playing. Just because, you know, people could grow out of the hobby or they don't have time management. I mean, I don't have any kids yet. You know, the world may never know when that happens. But that might change things up, you know, for say. But I know for a fact, for me personally, video games. I hate. It sounds so corny when you say it out loud, but it's like video games is like an escape for me. It's like a thing where it's like it's my thing. It's my thing only. I get to come into my room. I get to play whatever game I want to play. If I want to play Pokemon, I'm going to play Pokemon. If I want to play college football, I'm going to play college football. If I want to go see some ridiculous shit in Mortal Kombat, I'm going to go do that. You know, I'm going to go ahead and enjoy my video games, and I just don't see that ever being the case. Now, will my gaming probably change in the next 10 years on what kind of games I'm playing or like the way my schedule works? Most definitely, for sure. But, you know, video games is just in general, they're cool, man. I just remember, I don't think we're ever going to go out. I don't think we're ever going to go into the phase now. I think the phase of like, oh, aren't you too old for video games? I think that's done. I really think it's done in the sense I think it's just now more widely accepted as watching TV. And it's just a well-established hobby that people do. You either watch TV, you watch Netflix or movies, or you play video games. It's one or the other when you're talking about indoor activities that are mundane daily things. And I think we're at the point now where the games that are coming out are definitely intended for older people. You know, some of these story-based games are like really like, I'm gonna be real. Yes, The Witcher is I think The Witcher is a perfect example of a game that I can see myself playing when I'm 50 years old. Because it's the setting, it's the story, you know, your Assassin's Creeds, your God of Wars, stuff like that. You know, I'm not sure if I'm going to pick up the sticks for a Call of Duty or a FIFA, you know, and play online in a couple of years. But like those single player story narrators, even those little like indie games like Control and Inside and stuff like that, those are fun little games that are definitely more directed towards people who don't have a whole lot of time to play games. I think that's why those games are now on those weird like high-end, low-end 20 hours for the main story games like your God of Wars and your Spider-Mans. And then you got like in the sweet spot, like I'm not talking about your JRPGs, which go into the 100 hours, which is my type of RPG I like. But like you're like low-end 50 hours, like that sweet spot between 20 and 50 hours is designed for people like me, Nick, and Jake who have lives, and we don't get to sit down and play video games for 8 hours a day anymore, you know, and that's what game developers are doing. They're developing games for adults. They're not developing games unless you're Nintendo. You're not really developing games for children anymore. Unless we're playing Paw Patrol 3, you know, these games are intended for people of our age. Unless Jake's playing Paw Patrol 3, he loves that game.
And then can confirm it's not in my library.
That's.
Games are games, man, and they'll always be. Well, I think we are the last, like our age group in the 30s and 40s, are the last ones to see it as taboo. It honestly is. Like there is no taboo about it anymore. Gaming has overtaken any TV, mainstream media.
It's not even close.
But like, I don't watch TV anymore. I pay for Netflix, and I don't know why. Because I come in, I watch YouTube. All I watch is YouTube. That's all I need.
YouTube,
and then if I watch live content,
about it.
The only thing I've watched much of on Netflix recently is Arcane, which is obviously based on League of Legends. You know, which I don't know if either of you two have seen it. Amazing, absolutely should watch.
Okay,
but Luke, you love your anime, like. It's not quite anime, but it's in the same vein. I feel like Luke, genuinely watch it, man.
I've seen clips of it. It looks fire. I just have to find the time. Like I do with anything in life, I got to find the time to sit down and watch it.
I think this is it, right? You've got to just sacrifice sleep. That's the only thing. That's what I sacrifice. Yeah. That's the first thing that goes out the window is sleep. It's like it's gone. Guess I'm not sleeping
tonight.
Why
aren't they working on the technology to get rid of sleep? They work on it for everything else. Like let's get rid of that and get another 8 hours into our days.
I suppose what we could. I've got a question for everyone. Then let's throw it out.
Okay.
First game and favorite game.
First game, favorite game. Okay.
Go on, Luke. If you hit me first.
Oh Lord, yeah, I got you. First game, favorite game. So my first game that I have recollect. Let me just see where I'm at. Hold on, in my life. Hold on.
Tell you what,
Okay.
Luke. Oh,
Okay, I got it.
you
I
know,
got it.
you
I
got
got
it.
it.
Okay, cool.
It's between two games. Okay, and I'm just gonna say this because everyone know I'm 95% sure my first ever game I ever played was Pokemon Red on my own. But I also probably played Frogger on the PlayStation One right around that time frame when I was like 6 or 7. So I'm not sure which one, but those two games stick out the most. I'm just gonna say Pokemon Red because I know for a fact I remember playing that shit when I was in kindergarten, and we had a PlayStation 1 in the house at that time period. So I'm not sure which one I had first. Favorite game, and I talked about this before. Um, it's called Persona 5 Royale. It's a long ass JRPG. I think Jake, I talked to you a little bit about it on one of the podcasts where it's got some really one is a long game. It's a really good story based game. The gameplay is fun. There's a lot of really great gameplay in there. So like a kind of a dungeon crawler life sim thing where you make friends. These friends are all unique. They have really good stories. The music is a fucking banger, dude. If you're big on like OSTs and music and gaming, like it's so freaking good. And it's just some of the topics they talk about just kind of hit home for me when I was playing it a couple years back, which they talked about, some not really great things going on at schools. Unfortunately, one of them attempted, to do something to themselves, which was really heartbreaking. But just seeing that within the first hour of the game was jaw dropping to me. Like they were covering a sensitive topic like that in a video game was something that kind of really stood out. And it just honestly was all just talking about like overall, like, doing the right thing in the world. They had some like gray areas of whether it's right or wrong. And I think I sunk in like I think it's my only platinum trophy I have on PlayStation. 140-hour game. It was amazing. I love it very much. And if people have the time to sit down and play 140 hours, if you're a youngin and you have all the time in the world, go ahead and play it. You're not going to be disappointed in yourself for picking that up.
Fair dues. I have seen never played Persona 5, but I have seen it, and it does look good. It's one of the games which, when I said like the long run times kind of put me off. It was around about that time where it was like the long run times are going to put me off when it was sort of coming out. And it was like, yeah, looks cool.
I saw the run time. I saw the how long to be. It's like, ooh, let's go. I think funny story about that game, and then I'll let you get to yours. When the game came out, I talked about taking time off to play a video game. I did that, but also I remember rocking up and playing that game at midnight. And then for some reason, it's such a blur to me. Like the game itself isn't a blur, but the time that went by, I think my roommate came and checked on me. And he's like, "Are you good?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You haven't left your spot and your beanbag chair. It's 2 PM. I had been playing that game for 14 hours straight and have not moved to go to the bathroom. I think I had like a drink and maybe like some grapes next to me that had started to go back because they've been sitting out. But like that was like those are one of those years, those times in my life where that's why I love the game. The game was amazing. I loved every second of it. But it was just one of those times where I'm like, yeah, I miss those days. I honestly do miss those days where I can like just rock up and just sit down and indulge in a game for a really long period of time, and I have not done that. Well, that's not true. I did that with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but that was for work. That was for content. All right, Nick, what were yours?
Content. Yes. All right, so first game I played. So I didn't know video gaming when I was young. Like, obviously, I was 6 when I was introduced to it. I'm trying to think of how the best to tell this story. At 6 years old, it wasn't something that was really on my radar at that point in time. And so like the first console I was introduced to was the Super Nintendo. Mm-hmm. And my cousin, my older cousin, that side of the family was kind of quite technologically like
savvy,
inclined. Yeah, like the my uncle's does something with computers. I don't know what it is. And so they'd got it, and they brought it to my nan's once for like Christmas or some family get together, and we were playing it upstairs. And so the first time I'd really ever seen a video game, and it was Super Mario World. And it was, I was a little bit blown away by it. I was like,
Mhm.
I was kind of enamored. And it kind of been Christmas actually, because then later that year for Christmas, the only thing I wanted for Christmas was a Super Nintendo.
No,
That was
there
it.
you go.
Maybe it was like my nan's birthday or something like that. But regardless, and I got it, and I was amazed, and like I didn't have any concept of what things cost back then. So like
Hmm.
I thought my parents must have spent the absolute earth on this thing. Um, and so yeah, it was Super Mario World, which wasn't actually my favorite one. Like when I'd been with my cousin, they'd also shown me Super Mario Brothers All Stars, which I don't know how much you guys know your Mario history.
I know my
Not a
Mario.
lot.
I know my Mario a little bit.
Yeah, so like I actually wanted that because I was enjoying Mario Brothers 3.
Hmm.
But I only got Super Mario Brothers World, but I didn't care.
Hmm.
Yeah, Super Mario World was like that was it. That was me done for the next pretty much 30 years from 6 to 36.
He's
It
playing that
started.
game right now on his Switch.
I just
Actually,
the thing is
I don't think
it
it's on
is
a
on the
virtual console.
Switch.
Is it
Yeah,
the
It is,
virtual?
yeah.
it's on the virtual
Oh,
stuff, yeah.
oh, let's
And I
go.
think the last time I replayed it was last year, which granted we're in December now. But yeah, it's still like within the last 2 years I've replayed that game for sure. If I didn't do it this year, actually. But that was the first game.
Okay.
Favorite game is very hard to pinpoint down because there's been so many like genuinely favorite gaming moments I've had and stuff
Mhm.
like that. I think I have to say Kingdom Hearts. Now I don't know if
Oh,
either of you
yeah.
have played it,
I
but
I
I
haven't
am.
played it, but
Come
I've
on, Nick.
watched
I,
my
I would
cousin sit
imagine
there.
you have, Luke, but
I didn't get to play it. My cousin played
you
it.
didn't
That
get.
was
Oh,
how bad it is. I
really?
had to sit and watch. I was a younger one.
Oh,
Oh,
you poor soul, dude. Kingdom Hearts is
yeah.
an
I got
experience.
the younger brother treatment. It's like you sit there with the pad that's not plugged in.
Oh, yeah. But no, Kingdom Hearts. So I grew up on Disney, right?
Oh,
Like
yep.
I was a Disney kid for like my parents weren't, but that's how I was like dealt with. It was just here, we'll stick this video in, watch it. Um just be quiet for a bit. So I've seen Jungle Book and Toy Story and that God knows how many times because all we had on video. So yeah, Disney was like my thing, and then
Mhm.
when they came out with like mixing Disney with Final Fantasy, which Final Fantasy is one of, I would say, the most iconic games ever. Like
It
I
is.
think there's very few figures in gaming, like in comparison to like how many games there are out there,
Mhm.
that is just like no, you are an icon. And you take like Cloud, for example. Like Cloud is an icon of the gaming world. So like mixing Disney with Final Fantasy, even though I wasn't that big of a Final Fantasy fan, I should say, was just like it was a match made in heaven for me. It was The gameplay was almost basic in its hack and slash,
Mhm.
but like the fact it was basic was kind of part of the beauty of it.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I love that game. I poured quite a few. I mean, not crazy amount of hours because obviously, like, eventually you're going to complete it. But like, I would definitely 100% it.
Mhm.
I can't remember was in that or Kingdom Hearts 2, but I beat Sephiroth in the Hercules
Yeah.
thing, which was like
That's
one of the optional bosses. Which, trust me, if
mhm.
anybody has done it, will know that
It's
is an accomplishment.
it's
But
like
yeah,
it's like your new game plus kind of boss. Like it's not
100%,
it's
yeah.
not for the faint of heart. That one was like rough.
And when the credits rolled, I genuinely cried.
Okay,
Like not
which
like not ugly crying for Kingdom Hearts, sorry.
the
For
first one. Okay.
yeah. So not like ugly crying or anything like that, but just sort of like I genuine tears from just like this has
Mhm.
been beautiful. This has
Mhm.
been outstanding. This
Oh
is
yeah.
this is gaming perfection to me, right?
Yeah.
As a Disney and gaming nerd, Kingdom Hearts was just absolute match made in heaven.
Yeah. It's crazy that you mentioned that, Nick. I'll touch on it just for a second. I'm pretty sure you've played a majority of the Kingdom Hearts games. I cried at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. I really did. I'm not gonna lie. That one got me. That one got me. I'm not gonna ruin the spoilers for people, but seeing that image and then seeing it not be what you thought it was really just like tore my heart. I'm like immediately brought down. But like Nick said, saying like how that his favorite game brought out that emotion in him. Like when I beat Persona 5 Royale, I felt like it was like it's over. Like this amazing experience is done. It was like almost like a little bit of an empty feeling. Like I think I recorded I recorded my thoughts on it like on TikTok, and I think I privated the video because it's like really bad. But I'm just I'm just sitting alone in my thoughts, and it's over right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, I beat this game. I have really no need to go back and replay it because I did everything in it, and I'm like, what? It's like one of those things where you're like, it's what a game. It's like one of those things. It's just like, what a game, you know. All right, Jake, go ahead.
I don't think I'm going to live up to that. Let's call it there, boys. It's done. No, my first game was PlayStation 1, Spyro.
Okay.
As many of the introduction into the mainstream gaming, as I would call it. I think PlayStation 1 was the biggest flagship console in my childhood. I think Nintendo was still in the actual like non-portable phase, and then they were trying to phase it out because they saw PlayStation come in, and Sony was just a huge company at the time.
It's crazy high.
It was either that or, funny enough, Resident Evil. Because I think my dad must have bought the PlayStation and it came in a bundle, and it will have like, here's your game for the kid, like here's Spyro, and here's a game for you. Like, and I remember sitting there watching my dad with a chainsaw mutilating zombies outside of the mansion. It's like, oh my God. And it's like, Dad, can I have a go at my dragon game now?
I want to burn some sheep.
And then seeing like the Reignited trilogy come back and seeing it in a full HD, it's just like, that's how I saw it as a kid. Like you see all like the blocks and stuff. That's how I visualized it. Was like,
that is the best Jake, I'll let you go and say, but that by far is the best one-to-one. When you say a remaster of a game, that's what you're supposed to do. When you're doing a remastering of a game from like a PlayStation game, you're supposed to make it look like what you thought it looked like as a child. And they did that, honestly, in my opinion, in the best way possible with Spyro. They did an amazing job. Go ahead, Jake. Sorry, I had to put some props on the Reignited trilogy.
You can get it on record. And my favorite game is going to be a bit hard because, like, I'm not going to take the cop-out route and say Gold and Silver because
that's what was just
I'm not going to say that because literally that is my favorite game, but I don't think it in this context is worth it. It's a toss-up between Tony Hawk's Project 8, which is a fucking banger of a game. Now, I was an emo skater kid, like, and you do not understand when that game came out after Tony Hawk's like Pro Skater Underground came out like 5-6 years before this, and it was a drought. They brought Underground 3 out, and it was okay-ish. But this one was like
Underground 3, was it? It was American Wasteland where they brought BMX bikes into it.
Yeah, it's like it wasn't it. And then I remember Project 8 coming out, and I'm sinking shit tons of hours in. If I had to go on like playtime alone, I am in maybe 3,000-4,000 hours into Call of Duty 4.
Okay.
But that's because I just played it constantly, even when like it was my first Call of Duty, and then even as the new ones came out, I just went back to that one. But I think I'm gonna have to give it to probably Sekiro. Sense of achievement, graphics, like the game not beating you down because you're rubbish at the game. It's beating you down because you're doing it wrong. It's like
Yeah.
I think I go to a game now for like difficulty reasons. For some reason I want to punish myself after work. It's like, oh, you come home, you've had a really stressful time. You know what? Let's go fucking throw on Elden Ring or Sekiro, just die multiple times, or let's do a hardcore Nuzlocke and get really stressed about pixels. It's like, but I there's been so many games, but what I judge a game as being very good is when you can just shut off. Like there's you and the screen and your peripheral is gone. Yeah. And there's only been a couple of games that can do that, for me anyway. God of War was one of them. Both the God of Wars were like a blinkers on moment. Sekiro, mainly because you can't look anywhere else, because if you do, you're dead. And then the Uncharted series, because the Uncharted series was just a movie. But I think my favorite game, because I'd never played like Elden Ring, I'd never played Bloodborne, I'd never done like a difficulty like From Software game, and the sense of achievement when beating Sekiro, I remember sitting there and just like I physically screamed. You guys cried. I give out like the gorilla roar, just come on. Giving the fucking final boss some shit, going, how's that? He's just killed me like multiple. If we were in real life, he's just murdered me like 250 times in a row. And it's like the one time I win, it's like, come on.
Yes. Let's go.
But I would say my favorite game of all time is probably Sekiro at the moment.
Let's go. That's a good one.
Yeah,
I always joke
nice
around.
To have one that's quite so modern, I think, because like it's so easy to have these games from our past, which we've got like these memories of and stuff like that. But for yours to be like quite so new, it's like you're still making those memories, and it stands to the point in terms of like aging with video games is not a problem in the slightest. Like
they're getting better, and I think it's just our standards are getting higher as well, which is killing games. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, I think what Nick and Jake, you guys mentioned this. Video games is just now, it's like an art form. It really, really is. It is literally like the fact that like Nick, you just said, like Jake's favorite game is Sekiro, which came out probably like what, 2019, 20. Did it come out 22? Shit, I thought it was like...
No, it was COVID. It was definitely COVID. It's probably like 2020, actually. Okay, 2019, 2020,
Yeah, around that time frame, 3 years ago. The fact of the matter is, our standards are so high now. We are getting masterclass games that we're not even touching. Like that blows my mind. Like to this day, I'm literally like, I want to play Ghost of Tsushima because I know it's going to be amazing. I have yet to personally play any of the God of Wars because I'm like, I know it's going to be amazing. Like I said, like, the knowing fact
you have to build yourself up for it.
Yeah,
you got to build yourself up for this. Like, you don't want to overhype yourself because I don't ever overhype myself. But I'm like, the fact that I know these games are masterclass games already, and that I can just love video games to the point like now I pay $20 a month, and $14 a month for PlayStation Plus, and I get literally A-class games. Like I can go back and play all the Uncharted's.
I'm on the premium, and they throw games at you left, right, and center. And it's like it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, it's too much. But it's like it's crazy.
I guess we can wrap it up with we've done first and favorite. Are there any games that you're really looking forward to that are coming?
I thought you were about to ask me what my least favorite game was. I'm like,
I'm not going to rile you up, Luke, especially not at the end of the episode. We might be here for another hour.
Fuck Assassin's Creed 3.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. You had to get it in. So, like, one that I was really looking forward to, but didn't really hit the mark was Wukong.
Did you play it?
I've played. I've done the first 3 bosses. In fact, I've done the first chapter. And I missed a couple of the optionals. That kind of it didn't hit the spot that I thought it was going to hit. The controls felt a bit clunky, a bit of a like my stick just feels like a marshmallow when I'm whacking. There's no real like oomph in it. But like over the horizon, I haven't seen many games on the horizon other than like Pokemon ZA, which I am definitely interested in. That's really like piqued my interest. So I'd be surprised to see, because I feel like my gaming scene is very closed, and I don't see a lot of the games that I could play. That you guys, well, I think we're all in different genres. I honestly do.
Oh, yeah.
Like we've all got the base games in common, but like the actual genres themselves, it's like we're all completely different.
Yeah.
I would say for me, kind of to talk about a game that kind of left me a little disappointed. Definitely, and it pains me to say this because I do generally love the game. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero was amazing. I loved the gameplay of it. It's just lacking a little bit in the content area for me, like just little customization options and stuff like that. I really thought I was gonna sink in like well over 100 hours in it now. It's sitting at like 35 hours. And it's just one of those games where I did everything in the main story. I went online. It's really just like when you get into those fighting game realms, the online is what either makes the game or kills the game. And the online is just it's so bad. It's like not the connections. The connections are great. It's the players. Like there's no penalty for quitting halfway through your match. Spamming, all that stuff is in there, and it's typical fighting game bullshit. But it's really horrendous to Sparking Zero. And then for a game that I'm really looking forward to, there's a lot of games honestly that I am looking forward to. One of them that's on my radar big time, if it ever gets eventually announced, definitely is going to be the Wolverine game. I know that's coming out at some point. They're doing a Spider-Man Insomniac version with Wolverine for the PlayStation. That's going to be coming out at some point, either this coming year or in 2026. I think that's probably my most anticipated game as of right now. And then, honestly, again, it's one of those games. If they freaking give me a release date, it's Skate 4. When Skate 4 comes out, it's going to be.
Didn't say it, Luke, because it's.
It's just, I know. I had to say it though.
We've been waiting so long, man.
If we don't get it, come to my house in Tallahassee with pitchforks and come get me. But like once they give me the pre-order button for it, it's getting pre-ordered, and I will play it. I will be playing that game nonstop, easily.
What about you, Nick? Have you got any that are tickling your pickle?
So for me, there's three that I'm going to mention here. One is quite new, but I've only just got my hands on, so I'm sort of almost still anticipating it. And that's Sonic X Shadow Generations, which I grew up on the Marios and the Sonics of the gaming industry, and I never played the original Sonic Generations. It's a banger. Like what they've done, I think this is basically a remaster plus a shadow version of it. It is genuinely brilliant. If you'd like, in any way, kind of like platformers, particularly 3D platformers, get it. Another one which is already out and has been for a while, and I've kind of been putting it off because I know it's got a long run time, but I'm saving it because I'm going to enjoy it, and that's Tears of the Kingdom. Which is still relatively new, but like I have avoided all content of it. I think I saw Jake streaming like the first not even 5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes, and then was like, no, I can't watch this. Like, don't want to spoil it.
But in terms of is what I've played. It's like 5 hours, maybe. I'm the same. It's like I need to be in the mood for it.
Yeah. But in terms of actually anticipating something that's coming up, I'm going to say Borderlands 4. So I love Borderlands 1. Borderlands 2 was absolute masterclass of I'm going to call it a comedic first-person shooter, because like it's nowhere near your Call of Duties or stuff like that, because obviously it's almost cartoonish, but loved it. Then I kind of put off Borderlands 3, and then Jake and myself and Jack as well, another one of our friends, have just played through Borderlands 3, and it rekindled my love for the series, because I played the prequel after 2, so it went 1, 2, and then the prequel. I think that was it, and it didn't do it for me, and I kind of fell out of love with it, and then we were trying to find these multiplayer games to play. It's like Jake had just moved away, and it's like we need to keep up gaming as a group. And yeah, we played through that, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember Borderlands is fucking awesome.
It's a good.
And then the films came out, which was apparently crap, and I haven't seen. I kind of want to watch it as like one of those. It's maybe so bad it's good. I don't know.
It's just bad.
Yeah,
it's just
have
bad.
You seen it? Right. Okay. Cool.
It's just bad.
But the film aside, like I'm very ready for the fourth one to come out because I think as good as the first one was, they have genuinely managed to make each one of them better, which I think is actually quite an accomplishment for a gaming series. Like they've had the ones they're throwing in between, which almost like not the main game series sort of stuff. Hence the prequel. And I also played Tiny Tina's Kingdom with another friend. Oh, Tiny Tina's something.
Wonderland?
Sorry?
Was it Wonderland? Tiny Tina's Wonderland or something?
Tiny Tina's Wonderland. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. Which was a bit better than the prequel, but not as it doesn't quite have the same. It's not as good as the main core series.
Yeah.
But 2 was better than 1. 3, gameplay wise, if nothing else, was better than 2. Not quite so sure on the story, but gameplay mechanics wise, it was there. And so I'm very excited to see what they do with 4. And like it's hard to change up a very like set formula such as a first person shooter, because you run around, you run and gun, right? That's it. There's all there is to it. So to take something as basic as that and actually put improvements on it, I do think is quite an accomplishment, and they're managing it so far. And at least the ones they're not like using almost as experiments. So if they can do it again, like I think it's going to be like chef's kiss of a game.
It's going to be a good game. I'll enjoy playing it.
It definitely will be for sure. Well, guys, I think we've crossed over a good amount of time talking about gaming. As always, Nick, thank you again for hopping on and do this, fitting us in your busy schedule. And guys, that wraps us up for this episode of the Dual Hemisphere Hangout. As always, I'm Luke. That's Jake. That's Nick. And we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.